All right, I'm ready. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Spokane City Council Legislative Agenda for April 26th. And this evening, in a few moments, we're going to get a report from the Comstock Neighborhood Council. But before that, we have a proclamation for Arbor Day, and Councilmember Lori Kinnear is going to read that.
Would you like to do roll call first?
I would, actually. I was just thinking that when I looked at our clerk. So, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Council President Biggs.
Here.
Councilmember Burke.
Here.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Present.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Present.
Councilmember Mumm.
Here.
Councilmember Stratton.
Here.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Present.
Let the record reflect that all council members are present.
All right. Now, Councilmember Kinnear.
All righty. And we have Katie Kosinski to accept this proclamation for Arbor Day. She is our urban forester. And we've got quite the echo going, too, so maybe Jacoby can fix that. Whereas following a proposal by J. Sterling Morton, the first Arbor Day took place on April 10th, 1872 in Nebraska, with more than 1 million trees planted, and is now observed throughout the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion by wind and water of our precious topsoil, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air and water, produce oxygen, increase the life of our roads, and provide habitat for wildlife. Trees are also a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, and fuel for our fires, while increasing property values, enhancing the economic vitality of business environments, improving human health and well-being, and beautifying our community. And whereas Spokane is one of more than 3,400 communities designated as a Tree City USA, now therefore Nadine Woodward, Mayor of the City of Spokane, on behalf of the citizens of Spokane, do hereby proclaim April 30th, 2021 as Arbor Day. So Katie, we'd love if you could say a few words.
Thank you very much for having me here today. I am Katie Kosinski. I'm the urban forester, and I am just absolutely pleased to accept the Arbor Day proclamation this year. I just want to make a quick few announcements about this year's event. It again looks different for Arbor Day and Earth Day, as we're unable to hold an event still. However, we're getting very creative and been celebrating Arbor Day and Earth Day in many ways. And one of those ways is we planted numerous trees with the Pacific Education Institute and On Track Academy in Northeast Spokane near their school campus. In addition, I would like to point out that we worked with them, and just huge kudos to them. They actually have received national attention for becoming one of the first tree campus K-12 USA. So a wonderful achievement to the students and teachers and principal at that school. We also did a major street tree planting called Spokanopy in West Central last week. We also planted a tree with students of the Spokane International Academy on their campus as well. We also had a seedling giveaway with the Citizen Advisory Committee and many partners at the community school and On Track Academy for a drive-through seedling giveaway event that went wonderful. Upcoming, we also have a tree planting at the community school in West Central with the Lands Council this week. And you can visit our urban forestry page for ideas on how you might be able to celebrate Arbor Day at home as well. So thanks again for having me here today and for that wonderful proclamation.
All right. Thank you, Katie. Thanks, Councilmember Kinnear. And next, we have a report from the Comstock Neighborhood Council, and we have John Schramm with us. Welcome, John. You're on mute.
Still getting used to the Zoom calls. Wish we could all be in person. Thank you for having us tonight. As one representative of Comstock Neighborhood, I'm John Schramm, co-chair. My other co-chair is, the other co-chair of Comstock Neighborhood is Terrell Black. Terrell, are you on the line right now?
I am.
Great. I'm going to throw you under the bus since you wrote the email back to me first, and I'll have you get started on the things that have been going on in Comstock and what the City Council needs to know, and I'll chime in and add in my 2 cents for whatever they're worth, hopefully at least 2 cents tonight.
Okay. Well, I would say the biggest accomplishment, which has not happened yet, is our banners that will go up on Grand and around Comstock Park. We're excited about that. Similar to the flower pots on Lincoln, but they will have our logo that was designed and hopefully bring recognition to the neighborhood. And we'll just keep buying them as much as we can and putting them up in significant places, but starting with Grand and Comstock Park. We obviously got hit again in that windstorm. So one of my big things is the trees, but I understand the arborists and the Parks Department, and I hope it's the arborists too, are working on getting more trees, like double the amount since we've lost so many, to get planted over there and have an event to get it planted and hopefully have some of the neighbors come, which would be great. You know, most of our meetings, I mean, are people complaining about things, I hate to say. So some of the bigger ones have been the reduction of speed on High Drive. People are still complaining about that, but I don't know. I know the people that live on it love it and are much happier with the quiet street. So what do you say? The roundabouts on 43rd are still annoying to most, and I know they're trying to revisit that, but we haven't seen a lot of action on that. There's that particular one that was built that looks like an amoeba. Those are driving people crazy and throwing traffic along the golf course, which people are not happy about. Other issues have been the Lime scooters, the property theft, the lack of police force, the lack of ticket writing to help control the speed on High Drive. So I'd say those are some of our biggest concerns up here. There's been quite a bit of property theft, and I'm sure it's common everywhere. And then the upcoming Pilcher development. That hasn't really hit everybody's radar, but it sure will if he starts digging down there on the bluff. So hopefully we can get a plan and be able to tell the neighborhood what's happening before it really happens. So that's all I can think of.
Great. Thanks, Terrell. I'll just add a few extra details about some of the main points that Terrell hit on, and plus some. Regarding the trees in Comstock, we just heard from Katie Kosanke, who's the city urban forester, and she has been overwhelmed with all of the work that is in place for not only the rest of the city, but also for Comstock Park and all the tree restructuring there and trying to get a plan together. One thing that has come up on a positive note is that the artist who has done our Comstock neighborhood logo, Chris Bovey, he's also done a special print, especially to raise funds for replanting in Comstock Park. So go to his, do the Google and Chris Bovey artist, and his webpage will come up, and you can purchase for the purpose of adding to the funds to replant trees. Katie has been very helpful in reaching out to Comstock Neighborhood Council and telling us of all the plans and going forward, and has some events coming up in the fall, I believe, to get some trees in there. So we'd appreciate council's support on any of that. The banners, thank you very much, Council, for about a month ago or so, you approved the memorandum of understanding that both Comstock and Cliff Cannon had for the banners. So we've got 2-foot by 3-foot banners with hardware that we're going to be putting on light posts up and around those two neighborhoods, and Comstock particularly up on Grand and around the park. What we would ask you for additionally is one of the detractors of that MOU was the fact that we had to hire the appropriate people to climb up. So somehow an 18-foot ladder and John Schramm putting up banners up on Grand Boulevard wasn't good enough. So we will be looking for city resources, let alone Avista resources, since a lot of the poles are theirs on that. Development of Pilcher property, we would just ask for some sort of resolution. The city either step up and say, yes, we want that property, or no, we don't, and let it be developed. Let alone, it sounds like there's a lot of traffic issues that are going down in that valley that those residents are concerned about. Speed limit on High Drive, I for one am very happy to have the speed limit lowered. Really all we were, as a neighborhood, were asking on that was for it to go down to, for people to be held accountable to be at 30 miles an hour, which was the speed limit. Lori figured out a way around that and got a 20 mile an hour since it's a park zone. But ultimately, just today, I was passed by somebody going 40 miles an hour who did not care about any repercussions whatsoever. So obviously, we can put into place as many rules and regulations as we want to, and if we don't have any enforcement, then it's all for naught, I believe, and it just makes the rest of the population not as happy with the outcome. Roundabouts on 43rd. I know COVID, let alone all the restrictions that the government has put into place on businesses and government itself as to working. We're still getting feedback from the engineering department that somehow due to COVID, there can't be a study done on the absurdity of the amoeba island that is at 42nd, I believe, or 43rd. And so I would ask that the city departments be held accountable for their promises that have been made in the past, and no excuses to be made on that. We just heard from our city resource, our police resource officer at our last meeting, who said that there was 22 vacancies that were going to be coming up here soon due to retirement. That sounds like a really bad thing, and ultimately it was due to the built-up, pent-up demand because of the contract negotiations had failed over the last 4 years and finally got done, and they got their payout, and now they're out the door. So maybe that's a strategy going forward for council, is just delay the negotiations, and maybe we can keep a lot more police officers over the next 4 years. But I say that in jest to some degree. I think in general, when we're listening to, and I think as I'm driving around the neighborhood, let alone the city, I'm seeing a complete lack of accountability within our system. We'll call it a systemic lack of accountability. I just drove through downtown, and the place is littered with homeless tents, drug use and possession. Lime scooters are all over the place. We hear daily reports of property theft. The code enforcement is literally impotent. I just was over next to the freeway down by where the overpass is for the railroad, and there's a complete trash car down there up on blocks, and it's been completely stripped. And I don't know, I'm just guessing that somebody's called it in to code enforcement. It's probably going to sit there for a while. Let alone the upcoming assaults on our single-family home neighborhoods and wanting to integrate all sorts of other concepts into that. Let alone entertaining the idea of dumping chemicals into our clean water supply. So I would just ask that the city council, as it's going down its path of considering the needs of their constituents, let alone the rest of Spokane in general, to consider that all we want is just decency and accountability. So if we're going to make a rule, let's just enforce it. And I think within that structure, a lot of other things will fix themselves. So we can spend a lot of time on a lot of other high-level issues and never solve what matters to the vast majority of the voting public out there. And we just want something that's decent. So that's my 2 cents for tonight. I think given everything, Comstock neighborhood is doing very well. And we just would ask for a moment of silence here for consideration of the state of affairs that places are in today, and for council to be directed in their future actions to consider all of us. So a moment of silence, please. All right. Thank you once again, Council, for this time to speak our minds, and we look forward to being a partner with you on approaching any and every issue. We always do appreciate the council members, our representatives showing up at our meetings. Thanks.
Thank you, John and Terrell, and for that report. And now we're going on to our legislative agenda.
Special budget ordinance. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Kinnear.
Thank you. Could you please remind Jacoby that there's some folks that cannot get the login right or get on, that they want to testify. And I've been trying to get his attention, but you're right there. So sorry to interrupt.
Okay, thank you.
Special budget ordinance C 36040, amending ordinance number C 35971, passed by the City Council December 14, 2020, and entitled, an ordinance adopting the annual budget of the City of Spokane for 2021, making appropriations to the various funds of the City of Spokane government for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2021, and providing it shall take effect immediately upon passage and declaring an emergency and appropriating funds in Public Safety Personnel Fund from unappropriated reserves, $88,838 to various accounts, same amount. This action budgets for the increasing workload and success of the SPD Behavioral Health Unit.
All right, and just as a clarification, when this first came up, there was the belief that we would have to sacrifice a records clerk in order to fund this, and that is not the case. There's plenty of money in the public safety personnel levy that the voters put in place for both positions. We have, I believe, 2 people signed up for this. One is Amber Osting. I might not be getting that last name correctly, but Amber, if you're there, if you want to hit *3. Just because she's on my list here. But okay. All right. If Amber's not there wanting to testify, then next we have Nicolette Ochiltree. If you want to hit *3. All right. Nicolette, go ahead and introduce yourself. You have up to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Council. I am very much in support of the Spokane Police Department's Behavioral Health Unit. I think it's a really fantastic program for our city to have, and I think that this position is absolutely worthy of funding. I'm very glad to hear that this won't take away from the money that's allocated for the public records officer. I have a pending public records with the police department right now, and when I first submitted the request itself, I didn't get a response back within the 5 business days as required by the RCW. But when I sent an email inquiring about the delay, I received an email back very quickly. I also got a phone call the same day by a very nice guy who walked me through a few of the fees that are required and, gave me an understanding of when I might be receiving my first installment. And he explained his delay as being he just got off medical leave and also had jury duty maybe coming up, which is going to cause a delay, which tells me that he's burdened. So if we could get these other public records officers that are also funded in the levy hired as well, I would really appreciate that. And again, very excited to see that the Spokane Police Department is getting a coordinator for the mental health behavioral unit. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any council commentary or questions on this ordinance? All right, I'm not seeing any. This is a special budget ordinance, so it takes 5 votes to pass. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President's an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 7-0, and we have another special budget ordinance.
Ordinance C 36041, Asset Management Fund from other rents, charges $97,920 to operating rentals, leases, same amount. And from General Fund, $9,000 to various accounts, same amount. And General Fund from unappropriated reserves, $9,000 to operating transfer out, same amount. This action budgets for the extension of the lease for the Spokane Envision Center.
All right, and this, in terms of the rent, isn't going to cost the city any money. It's being funded by someone else, but we had to do the accounting for it. I think we might be paying for the utilities for this program. We don't have any public commentary on it. Is there any council commentary? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll have a roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President Sinai. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
Okay. That passes 7-0. And that brings us to resolutions.
Resolution 2021-23 regarding applications to amend the city's comprehensive plan and setting the annual comprehensive plan amendment work program, deferred from March 29, 2021 agenda.
All right, and I believe Mr. Freebot is going to walk us through this.
Good evening, Council President. Give me 1 second here to share my screen.
Is it Darren? But he knows how to do it now.
Jacoby, I might need some help here. I'm only seeing share file, not share presentation. Aha. Let's see. Bear with me. I'm sorry, folks. 1 second here. Jacoby, I think you need to make me presenter. I can't seem to take that right myself here.
He's working on it.
Okay. The joys of technology.
Well, this is Lewis, Interim Planning Director. What a beautiful sunny day today, wasn't it? We got a little bit of cloud cover coming in, maybe a little bit of precious rain, but I'm out. Thank you.
Thanks, Lewis. You're my hero.
I think we were Zoom bombed. I don't know. What do you think?
All right. Can you see my presentation now? That should. All right, great. So good evening, Council President, members of the Council. Apologize for the delay. I am bringing to you docketing resolution for the comp plan amendments. It's 2021-0023. You've seen a lot of this before, but for the benefit of the public and just to refresh everyone's memories, I'm going to go through very quickly what applications we have, what the process is, and then, of course, the applicants do get an opportunity to speak. But feel free to ask questions if you have any. So the program itself is an annual program, as you'll recall. Every year we take applications. Anyone may apply and propose amendments to our comprehensive plan, and they are considered on their own merits, but also as a group, they're considered cumulatively. Also, each application is subject to SEPA review. I do want to point out that none of that has happened yet. We're very early in the process. We haven't done any SEPA review or any detailed analysis. So what I'm presenting to you today is based on just what the applicants have provided to us and some general knowledge about the city and conditions. So again, anyone can submit a proposal. They're typically to amend maps or text in the plan. This last fall, we received 7 private applications for changes to the land use plan map. And we also have 1 city-sponsored amendment to the bike facilities map that's in Chapter 4. The process is set by statute, set by the municipal code, and it's the same every year. But just as a refresher, we do take the applications in September, October. A docketing committee made up of 3 council members and 3 plan commission members meets early in the year to consider which applications they want to recommend move forward for processing and which do not. That meeting has, of course, happened. And then we get to the step we're at today, which is City Council actually sets the work program for the year by accepting certain applications or deciding which applications they would like to accept for full processing. Following tonight's meeting and the setting of the docket, the applications that are selected to continue will go out for an agency comment period. This is not only local agencies, but also city departments. This is when we typically find out that a project might need a traffic study or some additional study or work to determine its impacts. So that hasn't happened yet, but that will happen immediately following this. Then after the agency comment period, and if there's any traffic analyses or any other materials are gathered, then it goes out for a public comment period. During the public comment period, Plan Commission will have substantive workshops on each of the applications. That's where the nitty-gritty of planning comes in, and we start talking about the actual details of each application and looking at analysis. Finally, Plan Commission in the typically late summer, early fall will have a hearing where they make a recommendation to City Council, which should be approved. And then it moves on back to you folks to come back for a City Council hearing. We'd like this to be in fall, but it's often in early winter. And that is the actual final decision on each of these applications. And then, of course, those that are approved go on to the mayor. A couple things to highlight in this process. There are many opportunities for public comment. We take public comment all along the way. We have already received some that you've been provided. And then we will do it again and again, and at each stage. And then, of course, it's all of the hearings, and including tonight, public testimony is taken as well. So it's written and verbal. And lastly, again, we are right here. We're on step 3. So there is a long road to go, but we're raring to get going, and hopefully we can answer your questions tonight and keep moving forward. The docketing process, or the threshold determination, just some notes on that. All of the neighborhoods have been notified because we do have one application, the city-sponsored proposal that is citywide. We just went ahead and broadcast it to every neighborhood. I've spoken to Community Assembly, the Land Use Subcommittee of Community Assembly. We've broadcast this to everybody saying, provide us any comments, let us know. That's the end result of the comments you've received. The docketing committee itself makes a recommendation. It's not an approval or denial. It's a recommendation to council. And they've done that, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we go along through each application. And then, of course, finally, City Council, it's your responsibility to set the work program for the year. As far as this process goes, this docketing process is guided also by the municipal code, and it is less about should this application be approved and more about does it meet the thresholds that the city has set for to be docketed, to be added to the work program. So I'm going to go through those very quickly for you again, just in case there are any questions. The first is the proposal adequately addressed through the comprehensive plan? Is it something that should be some other product or some other project? The next one is it part of an ongoing work program? Sometimes we get requests from folks, and they're part of something we're already working on. None of the ones this year qualify for that. None of the ones this year are parts of other work programs that are ongoing. Also, we look at whether it can be reviewed within the resources and time of the annual program. We may get, 10, 20 in a year, and that's a significant amount of staff time. So this gives, and City Council's time and Plan Commission time. So this gives that opportunity to kind of look at that. The next threshold to consider, these can be expanded in scope or in geographic area that is allowed. Threshold D gives some shape to that and what it should be, and it essentially says that if we're going to expand an application, it should be to similarly situated nearby properties with the same situation and close to it. Then also we look at whether it's consistent with the general policies in the comprehensive plan. This isn't a detailed policy by policy analysis, but it's more about things like, is this proposal going to completely change the shape and the way that the comp plan works? Obviously, that's probably not consistent. It's maybe addressed better in a different process. Next, we look at whether the proposed amendment is the same as one that was not selected or not forwarded on for consideration last year. None of our applications this year qualify for that. None of them were proposed last year and then not taken up. So this one isn't really in effect this year, or isn't really affect our applications. The last one is, of course, if the application is a result of a change in state or local law or a court decision. None of ours this year are a result of state law changes or a court decision. So those are the thresholds that the municipal code asks us to look at this stage. Obviously, anything that gets approved or improved for the work program tonight will move forward for fuller processing. That's where we look at individual policies and guidance and whether the process or the application should be approved. So the ones we have this year for consideration, again, we have 7 land use map changes and 1 bike map change. The 7 land use changes you can see here on this map, quite a few of them are clustered around, neighborhoods more close to the downtown area or to the river. Although we do have 2 on the upper south, well, 1 on the upper South Hill in the Southgate neighborhood, and 1 further south in Latah-Hangman. So you've already received a presentation from me on these, and all the materials are on the website, and I've given you the application packets. So I'm just going to hit these really quickly just to kind of give everybody a refresher, and then we'll move on. And then the last thing I'll do is I'll show you a quick summary of the bike map changes. So the first one is 194. It's at 120 North Magnolia Street. We're just 2 blocks or a block north of Sprague Avenue. This is the old McKinley School building, and its site, it's all one parcel, the entire city block there. And this isn't about the applicant wanting to demolish that building. Far from it. This is more about the fact that it's currently zoned industrial, and they would like to be able to do other things with the property while still maintaining the school. So it's about 2.5 acres in size. Again, it's one parcel, and what it is this is 1 block outside of a center. Sprague along this area is a center. So what they're seeking to do is they're currently designated for light industrial in the comprehensive plan, and they would like to become part of the center core, where the CC core uses. So that's the proposal here. Now this one, we did receive a comment letter from a member of the public in support of it, and the docketing committee looked at it and it recommended unanimously that this be included in the annual docket for processing. So that's 194. The next one is 195. This is the one in Latah-Hangman. It's several properties, about 100 acres, just west of US 195, just east of the existing housing developments there up on the hill. It's important to note on this one, it's greenfield. There's really nothing on the site except some impromptu, walking trails and dirt paths. But also, I want to point out, just as a reference, that I'm trying to get my laser pointer. There we go. That this green strip you see along the eastern edge, that's a slope. So there is a significant slope between the highway and this location. It's generally a flattish kind of parcel, but it is up on a bluff. So what the applicant is seeking here is to designate a new center in this location, a district center, and that comes with quite a few additional topics and things that we need to consider. The comp plan does allow us to designate new centers, does allow private applicants to suggest a center or to request a center in a location, but it also calls for a specific sub-area planning process to do that. And during that process, things like the exact location, the mix of land uses, the transportation, all these other issues are worked out and analyzed. But just as a matter of course, they did propose certain land uses for this application. So you see it's currently all residential 4 to 10. That's 4 to 10 units per acre. Single family housing is pretty much what that is. And they've suggested a new mix of land uses, including a little CC core area, some residential 15 plus, that's multifamily, and then a strip of single family along the west side. It's important to point out that if this moves forward as a sub-area plan, all of this will be worked out and might change. This is just a proposal at this point. So we did receive a letter in opposition to this one from the public, and also the docketing committee discussed it quite a bit and recommends that this be separated from the annual application process and be processed as a sub-area plan. A sub-area plan is a wider and typically longer and more in-depth process than what we can do in a annual amendment, comp plan amendment. And it's allowed to do that. It doesn't have to be part of this strict timeline of everything must be in this 1 year. And so that was the recommendation of the docketing committee, to pull this out, make it a sub-area plan. If council votes to do that, what would happen is it would essentially not be part of the comp plan amendment process, and it would staff would get with the applicant and other interested departments and make sure that we understand what the scope and the shape of this might be, and then bring that back to council for discussion and consideration as a work item rather than a comp plan amendment. The next one is 196. This is in the Southgate neighborhood. This is the one at Freya and Palouse Highway. We're looking at about 10 acres, green field. It's mostly trees and empty field. You'll see this little notch here on the east end. That's for the Moody Bible Institute. They're not a party to this proposal. But you can also see to the west, this more dense development that you see. This is related to the apartments there along Regal, the apartments that are around the Target, the Southgate Center with the Target and other. And it is right on the city limits. It's hard to see from this image, but this gray boundary that runs along 55th and then up Freya. So we're on city limits. It's still surrounded by, the county's pretty built up around it. So it's not out in the middle of nowhere, but it is on our edge for city. So this one, they are proposing to go from residential 4 to 10, which is single family homes, and transition to residential 15 to 30. That's multifamily, more like 3-story walk-up rather than tall apartment building. But that's what they're proposing. And this is one of the ones where the docketing committee did discuss possible expansions. We highlighted some properties around it that are close to the same situation. They're adjacent to these two nearby centers, but they're residential single-family zone. They're relatively, in some cases, greenfield. Some cases, there's a single building on them. And so all of these areas were looked at. Two of these, number 4 and number 5, it's important to note, are the application on 53rd that council considered last year that was not ultimately approved. But there's also these properties to the north and, of course, the Moody Bible Institute that would kind of be, at least from a zoning perspective, might be a little isolated if this one changed. Ultimately, we did receive 2 letters in opposition, a letter from an adjacent neighbor who was more about questions and wanted to make sure that certain things were considered. And the docketing committee ultimately did not pass it or approve any motions on this one. It moves forward without a recommendation. They're a recommending body, so they can't deny it, but they also didn't recommend it, so there's just no action from the recommending docketing committee on this one. It is important to note, too, on this one, I wanted to add that, the applicant's aware that there's some concern with traffic and other items down there. There are additional materials that they have submitted in their application packet on the website that I notified you of, but it includes a memo about traffic. So there is, they're aware of that topic. Obviously, when we get in, if this moves forward and we get into the full processing, that's when those details start to really get analyzed and that gets worked out. So that's where 196 is right now. 206, this is on the north of the river now, right where Division Street comes back together and just about east of that. This is a single property of almost 0.8 acres. It used to contain a home and a garage. It currently now only contains the garage. The home was removed before the application with a permit, so there is no home on the site. It is right at the foot of a bluff. This green strip you can see along just north of the property, that is a bluff. That is a pretty significant grade change between the upper level here where the single-family homes are and this denser development to the south. It's also important to note that this facility you see immediately south of it is the WSDOT facility. So that entire thing is the state transportation system or program. So the applicant is seeking to go from its current designation of residential 4 to 10 single-family homes. They'd like to fold it into the adjacent residential 15 to 30 zone or land use designation so that it would allow a multifamily development on the site instead of a single family. We didn't receive any public comments on this one. The docketing committee looked at it and recommended that it be included. So the next one, we're now on Monroe Street, north of Northwest. So this is the part of Monroe that we did the road right sizing and all the streetscape improvements on a couple of years ago. This is just off the back of some properties there that face Monroe. At 1015 West Montgomery, it's a small property of 0.16 acres. It has a single family home on it now. And you can see in this image these yellow hash mark properties. Those are the same owner. And what it is that this owner is hoping to do is, to the south, they have this multifamily building with this full depth all the way back. They also own the northern half of the block here on the northern side of the alley, and they would like to bring it from what it is now and make the zoning and the land use match for those three properties, so that they can do something similar on something a little denser than a single family home on that northern half of their property here. So it's whenever you see these hash marks in one of our maps, that it essentially indicates it's the same owner. So it's only a single property, but he's really hoping to do something with this corner, and this gives him the depth to do that. We received no public comments on this one, and the docketing committee recommendation was to include this in the docket. Okay, two more, I'm almost there. The next one is two properties, one at 1022 and one at 1028 West Cinto. They both comprise about a half an acre. And you can see here there's an existing multifamily building here. It's legal non-conforming. It was built legally, but now it's zoned for something lower. And then there's a single family home right here on the corner, same owner for both properties. And what they would like to do is it's currently zoned for residential 10 to 20. That's about a duplex. That's about for our duplex zoning. And they'd like to bring it up in density to residential 15 plus. One thing I neglected to mention on the previous application, and it's true here as well, is that the entire length of Monroe that we're looking at is a center or a corridor. It's the Monroe corridor. So the comp plan calls for greater density. It calls for more multifamily residential to serve the commercial uses on Monroe. And so that's kind of where this is coming from the applicant's perspective. They would like to be able to do something multifamily on that corner, but they can't because it's currently only designated for residential 10 to 20. So they would be bringing it up to residential 15 plus. To give you an idea, that's what's basically on the east side of Monroe in this location. This is another one where expansion might be important, especially because, as you can see, there's this one property between them and the commercial zone that is not a party to this application yet. So the committee looked at that parcel and then also considered looking at the entire block. All of this residential two-family or this residential 10 to 20 units per acre could potentially be increased in density to support the Monroe corridor. So they looked at these two areas. Ultimately, the docketing committee recommendation was to move this forward for full processing with both areas 1 and 2 included. So that would expand the application to these additional properties. We haven't received any public comment on this one either. And again, the docketing committee recommended unanimously to move this one forward. The last of the land use plan map amendments is 209. This is about 1.9 acres. And you can see here we're just north of the one we just talked about. So these two, you'll see these show up a lot together on maps, but they are separate applications. They just happen to be located close to each other. This is a District 81 property. It's currently called the Community School. It is a I don't want to say alternative education, but it's a different model of education, high school. They're seeking to redevelop it as itself. They want to rebuild the building. They want more space. They want to be able to have a more modern facility. But to do that, they're currently in the same boat as the previous applicant. They're designated much lower density than what they would need to do the height they need or the floor area that they're seeking. And so they're also currently designated for residential 10 to 20. They would like to go to CC Core, which, since they are right on the Monroe corridor spine, right in the middle of it, their hope is to be proactive and become part of that core of the center, so they don't have to come back later and do it again when that center is planned. No public comments have been received on this one, and the docketing committee recommendation was also to include it unanimously. The last one that we have for you is a city-sponsored proposal. It's going to look very familiar because we did something very similar last year. This is a further set of amendments to TR5, which is our bike network map. Following the success of last year, quite a bit of public interest was generated. There's quite a few requests and ideas folks had for bike map amendments. And so Mr. Quinn Hurst in our office has come up and also Integrated Capital Management has developed a series of recommendations in coordination with the public to amend the map further. And so what we're looking at, it looks like a lot, but it's 9 changes to existing routes, and then there's 2 additional routes. The 2 additional, there's a small one here downtown just to accommodate some changes in development, and a new one up here in Shiloh Hills neighborhood. So that is all of the applications that we have, and I'm sorry you had to listen to me say that so many times, but I appreciate your patience and your attention. Just a quick recap, and then I will pass it to Council President and the applicants again. The thresholds, I have these, I can pull these up for you at any time, but again, these are the thresholds against which we're evaluating these at this time. Obviously, when we get into things like traffic and the actual particulars of the project, that would come after this point when we are processing the applications. And then finally, of course, I have the great big table of everything. These are all of the applications, where they are, what they're doing, and the committee recommendation. And I'm happy to flip around to these if you have questions during deliberations or after the applicants speak. So I'll still be here, but you won't have to listen to me blather on about the applications.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
So is the applicant here for the Southgate 196 comp?
I believe so, yes. It's I don't have my participant list up, but I can find it. Per the process, each of the applicants is provided the opportunity to speak now if once council's questions are done. I don't know, Council President, if we want to take those in order of application or not.
Do you have I don't have the list of the applicants. Why don't you read the name of the first applicant, and then we'll take testimony from that applicant and then go that way.
Terrific. The first applicant has 3 applications in with us. It's the agent, it's Dwight Hume, it's Mr. Dwight Hume. Okay. He is the agent for 194, I'm going to get this wrong, I believe 194, 207, and 208. And I do not see him on the list. That's what I was just looking up.
We'll see if he called in. Mr. Hume, if you're there, if you want to hit *3. Not seeing him on the phone in.
Yeah, and I don't see him in the list.
Okay.
So.
All right. Why don't we go to another applicant then?
Yes. So the next, I just want to make sure I get these right because I'm obviously distracted. One moment, second. There we go. Sorry. So the next one would be 195. That's the Latah Hangman one, and the agent for that is Mr. Jay Bonnet, who I do see on here.
All right.
Yes, I am here. Thanks for considering this application. You're all briefed on what the proposal is. Unfortunately, we only have 3 minutes, so we can't really provide any detailed information as to what we're looking at. But what we would like to do is to create something in this part of the county that is similar to the Kendall Yards project. We believe this is the appropriate process to go through since there aren't any other work programs. Nobody else is proposing to do a district in this area, in this neighborhood, and it, by all measures is needed in the county and basically in the whole area due to the lack, the shortage of housing and whatnot. So we do believe this is the right process to hear this, and unfortunately, with the way that the process is set up, we aren't really afforded a lot of time to be able to present what this project could look like unless it does go through it. And so we would just like that opportunity to provide that information to you and allow you to make an informed decision as to whether this is a worthy project. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And just to be clear, you had a full presentation to the docketing committee, though, right?
Well, again, we were only offered 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, nothing that really could be considered a presentation.
But you got to
And that's just the nature of the process.
you got to submit all your materials to them, though, I'm assuming.
That's correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Do any council members have any questions for Mr. Bonnet? And you might have to just volunteer if you. All right. I'm not seeing anyone. So thank you, Mr. Bonnet. And Mr. Freebot, what?
I guess I do have one little
Yeah,
thing
go
to
ahead.
add is that, basically going through with discussions with Kevin, it's really not clear what the alternative process is with the subcommittee, and who really is driving that bus and deciding what this new district center would look like. And I just wanted to reiterate that, to my knowledge, there isn't anybody else in this area volunteering their land to provide a district center like we are, and we have the necessary amount of land to make it happen. So we're not really sure what this sub-area planning committee process is going to produce.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Council President,
Yes, Councilmember Stratton.
this is Karen. Along the lines of that question, if Kevin might be able to help answer this. So the committee recommended that it goes through a sub-area plan and then it will come back to council. And the city, is it the city planning department that directs that sub-area plan? Is what I thought it was. I just want to make sure.
I'm not sure if directs is the right word. There is guidance in the municipal code as to what a sub-area plan process considers. And at this point, we're not, it's so dependent on the location and what the topics are and what the concerns are that I couldn't tell you exactly what that would look like either. What we're saying would happen is if Plan Commission or if City Council decides that this should move forward as a sub-area plan, it will go, planning staff and the applicant obviously would work together to develop what that might look like, what the scope would be, who would steer it, how it would be steered, and come back to council with that as a proposal separate from the comp plan amendment process.
And then Mr. Bonnet would come back as well to say this is the process we went through. This is okay.
Yes, this certainly isn't something where we would go off into a closet and write it and then come out and say, here, Mr. Bonnet, this is what you've got. Obviously, it requires us to work with them, but we also would, there hasn't been a lot of analysis yet because it hasn't moved past this docketing stage for us to say, we're very concerned about X, Y, and Z, or that this is a great opportunity because of A, B, and C. We haven't had that opportunity to make that analysis yet.
That will come next.
That is what part of that scoping process would include.
Okay, thank you.
I see Councilmember Wilkerson, but before that, I'm going to just ask Kevin. But that would take council action to put it on the Planning Commission work plan, right? So.
Yeah, it has to come back to council as a work plan item.
Okay. Councilmember Wilkerson.
And so following that, my question is the funding for the staffing to do the sub-area work plan. Where does that come from? Is that part of the planning? Is that in conjunction with the developer? Somebody just take me down that road a little bit.
And that is the perfect point for me to pass that off to our director Mueller, because I think he has a better shape up for that than I do. So, Louis, do you mind?
Yeah, normally the city contributes, but that is in balance with the developer's, proposal and size and extent of the sub-area plan. So it really comes down to how far does the city council want to explore the option. And in this location of the city, there is an ongoing study that is impacting the entire Latop Valley, the SRTC 195 I-90 study. So we have both water, sewer, and transportation considerations. So that's, I'm punting, honestly, but it's all to come in the future.
So that would essentially have to be negotiated, is what you're really saying. Okay. Okay. Other
Council President?
Yes.
I just wanted to mention the city has a strong history of supporting center planning and sub-area planning around our centers, and in the past has designated funds in order to support that activity. In designating new centers, we recently designated Northtown Shopping Center and 5 Mile Shopping Center as new centers, and those are in line to hopefully receive funding, whether that's current staff or consultant staff, in order to revisit the zoning around those areas because of the new designation. So my hope, as we discussed on the docketing committee, is that this area of town that does not have a center designated needs to go through that sub-area planning process. It may or may not include all or part of this proposal, but it was a great kickstart for us to take a look at what a center might look like there. And I would anticipate that the council might be asked to come back and designate a center and help provide funding for what that would look like.
Other Council
President?
Councilmember Stratton.
I just want to make sure that after tonight, Mr. Bonnet knows what the next step is, what they need to do in this process. That's all that I'm trying to get to. So if this moves forward the way that it is, who makes the next connection with his group to start these discussions?
If I'm understanding it, it would take 4 council members to vote to make this a priority to do the sub-area planning process and then negotiate that out with him. So he would need 4 votes, but it doesn't sound like there is another door that he just opens up and then goes into that system, because we don't have unlike land use changes on an annual basis, we don't have just a regular door. He can't just apply and say, hey, I'm ready to do it. So it would take some negotiation with council members. So I think his next step would be talking with council members and attempting to get 4 of them to support the sub-area planning. And I see Interim Planning Director Mueller saying that that is the case. Any other questions on this application? All right. I did get a communication that Mr. Hume is on the phone for several of them. So, Mr. Hume, if you want to identify which application you want to talk about first, and then we can go through that and then see if there's questions and then go on.
Okay, this is Dwight. Thank you for staff for getting me the right link to get on here. The first item is 194, and that is the McKinley School. The request is to enable us to revitalize the use of that property, including the school. So it's a reasonable proposal as I see it, because it includes a contiguous expansion of that particular designation, CC Core, so for an employment center. So I certainly concur with the findings of the docketing committee that it should be able to go forward.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Hume on application 194, the McKinley School? And again, feel free to just volunteer because I can't see everyone, but I'm not hearing any. So why don't you go on to your next application, Mr. Hume?
Okay, since you've been introduced to these, I would go down to 207.
Okay.
And that one is just merely a consolidation of the applicant's property. As you know, it's 0.69 acres, already general commercial in that centers and corridor area. And this just adds a house that is over 100 years old and is very difficult to convert for residential purposes because it doesn't meet today's code. So this would encourage the redevelopment of the contiguous 6 lots. And of course, we agree with that. Then going on to 208, that one is merely a need to take an existing apartment building that the applicant has and a single-family home at the corner and enable us to implement what has always been the intent of the corridor mixed-use zone category, and that is to have higher density housing immediately adjacent to the commercial activities. And as you see, the docketing committee has recommended that it be expanded to include the remainder of the block. And we certainly go along with that recommendation as well.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hume on either 207 or 208, Montgomery and Cinto? All right. I'm not hearing any. Mr. Freebot, who's next?
So the next one we have is the Southgate application 196, and the agent is Mr. Ben Goodmanson.
Okay. Mr. Goodmanson, go ahead. You have up to 3 minutes, and if people ask questions, I'm given more time than that. So.
Yes, this is Ben Goodmanson. Is Todd Whipple on the line?
Let's see. I do not see him.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we were having technical difficulty, but
oh, I see him. He's there.
Okay. Todd is actually the one who wanted to speak to council about this.
Okay. All right. Mr. Whipple?
I do see him on the list, but he's still muted.
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
I apologize. I've got on late. I had it on my I didn't have it on my calendar, but I knew it was on the 26th, and so I don't know if I have a lot to add from the last time that I spoke to you before you kind of put these on hold. I know that hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at it. I think it's an excellent opportunity to add some housing in an area that needs housing. And I would ask that you move this forward with the other comp plan applications and let us go through the process to evaluate this in more detail. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Whipple. Councilmember Stratton.
Thanks for joining us, gentlemen. Todd, I do have a question. Has there been discussion or any talk about any of this housing being affordable housing?
There has been a discussion, and the discussion mostly ran along the lines of that we weren't saying that we wouldn't. It's trying to figure out how to implement it. So that's where we've had that discussion. I think once I had that discussion with Mr. Stuckert as it relates to how to implement it where we don't get HUD money. So in other words, most of the affordable housing in Spokane happens to be associated with the HUD program, Housing and Urban Development Program for Housing. This would be a privately funded project, and so the question would be how to implement a low income or affordability strategy with a privately funded project. And so we've talked about it. I don't have an answer right now. I know that we're willing to have more conversations. I just don't know specifically what the answer would be.
But you're open to have those discussions, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
We are. We understand the need for housing, and I'm going to say this. I don't know if it'll come out right. It's not intended to come out wrong. The HUD money solution is an interesting thing, and those people that know how to run the program do a really good job.
Right.
Most of the market rate guys that I work with have chosen not to go that way simply because you kind of have to have the ins and the outs. And those people who've done it for a long time have a much greater success at obtaining HUD money than those people that are trying to get it for the first time. It's not that we're not for affordable housing. It's how to implement it into a private development project with no public money.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Other questions or comments for Mr. Whipple or Mr. Goodmanson?
So, Council President, Betsy here.
Yes,
So
Councilmember
I
Wilkerson.
actually was up at the property with Mr. Whipple and looked around. He made a comment that everybody at some point lives in apartments, which is true. I've had spent my time there. But up in that neighborhood, there is quite a significant number of apartment units, but no housing for people who are ready to transition out of apartments into single-family homes. So I certainly understand the density of needing more units, but I also understand that we need the opportunity for people to own homes. So we do need homes. I would think smart growth, and that infrastructure continues to be my concern. I walked the land and looked at it and the school and the closeness of it to the Palouse Highway. I think there's opportunities. I'm not seeing the proposal at this point, not saying that they're not on their way, but at this point in time, I do not see it. And again, I would really like for someone to start thinking about building single-family homes so some of those folks can get out of those apartments and then make way for others.
Thank you. Other council questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Mr. Whipple, Mr. Goodmanson.
Council President?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I was going to say, I agree with Councilwoman Wilkerson in that we absolutely need those homeownership opportunities, but we need them citywide, not just in a single neighborhood, which is why I'm so aggressive about looking at these issues. But the same fact remains, our vacancy rates for apartments, for rentals, is incredibly low, and we need those too. We've got to support people at every end of the spectrum. We desperately need housing. So I'm happy to support any proposal that's going to help get people into housing right away.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Burt.
Thank you. I agree with Councilmember Casper and just really strongly feel that this first part is not saying that we're going to build a bunch of apartments right there. It's for us to look into it and see what the next steps are and see what kind of issues might come up from it. And we heard from the developers that they're interested in low-income housing and affordable housing, and so that just sweetens the pot for me. So I'm definitely in support of moving this forward as an opportunity for folks to be able to access living on the South Hill.
Thank you, Councilmember. Other comments, questions on this application?
Councilmember, it's Lori.
Yes.
I'd like to remind everybody, the docketing process started 3 or 4 years ago, and it was a process because Kevin didn't talk about this specifically, but the process was to go through and identify those projects that we wanted staff to work on we're in a position right now where we're very short of planners. Even though we have funded positions, those positions have not been filled. And if the planning department were to put out notices right now to advertise, it would still be months before we get planners. So our planners are stretched to the max right now. To add more to their workload slows the process, number one. But number two, adds to the stress and their workload that I don't think is, it's not right for us to put that on the staff right now without either additional consultants or more planners. And we've had this discussion for the last 4 years, and we're still here with not enough planners. So I'm going to keep beating this drum until we get more planners. This is up to our administration to move that needle and say, let's go, let's hire them. This is an economic development issue as far as I'm concerned. So we have to get off the dime and hire more folks.
Council President.
Councilmember Mumm.
I just wanted to thank you, Councilmember Kinnear and Councilmember Stratton, who served on the docketing committee. I also wanted to discuss some of the things that we talked about were, along with the 3 Plan Commission members who served on that docketing committee with us, is this council just rejected a very similar proposal in this area last year because of a variety of reasons, and also reflected that they wanted to support the neighborhood to take a more holistic approach to look at any changes that would come to their neighborhood plan. This would only affect one lot. It wouldn't encompass those other lots. If we took this on as a potential targeted area or a little more of a holistic approach to solve long-term those transportation issues that keep coming up, I think we'd actually get somewhere. So I would be supportive of not moving this forward, but I would support other centers and more center planning around that. And I have heard good news that the mayor's office is looking at possibly hiring consultants for it. But I don't think this approach, one lot at a time, is the way to do it. I think we need to take the whole area into consideration and work with the neighborhood to do that.
Other comments on this application?
Council President Beggs, this is Karen.
Yes, Councilmember Stratton.
I think this is where it gets really confusing for people, because we're talking about this particular location, and I agree, and I can remember that discussion, is that the neighborhood around was very, very concerned about development in that area without other, transportation being looked at and infrastructure and that kind of thing. But it seems to me why this can be confusing for people. If I understand this correctly, those discussions with the neighborhood and those studies with transportation and other issues don't happen until the next step after this. Am I correct?
We get it.
I would say from an applicant's perspective, I don't know if I have the permission to talk.
Oh, go ahead.
Normally we would, docketing kind of changed it for applications. And so COVID kind of screwed some of it up too, but normally we would make application for docketing, and docketing is a process to kind of get vetted to see if the city, you put your toe in the water to see if you can move forward. And so at the same time is how far does the applicant go, and I hate to say spending money, that's sort of the way it goes, but how far do you go down the process to see if you have the potential for a project? So it's always been, we would go in front of the Southgate Neighborhood Council if we were moving forward. And only because it would be critical as we move through the final application process to know what they wanted as it related to pedestrian facilities, streetscape, things like that, because we have to fit within the Southgate neighborhood plan. So it's always been the process where you throw the dart at the dartboard, and if you get in, then you start this long holistic process of, well, what do we have to do for transportation? Are we just going to pay impact fees, or are we going to fix something? Well, we have the ability to say, you have a thing in your code that says impact fee, there's an impact fee exemption if you go ahead and you spend your money rather than put it in the impact fee process. So we would do a traffic study. We would do all those things to get to the point where when we brought it back to you at the very end, you would have an opportunity to say, oh, you went to Southgate. We see that you've implemented the Southgate issues and concern. You see that you've done traffic and you're willing to participate in fixing a couple things instead of just giving us money, because it may not be on our 6-year plan or it may be on our 6-year plan, but this is the thing that we heard the most about. Those are the things that kind of fortunately or unfortunately happen after docketing. It used to be when you made application, you were just in and you went and did all that stuff. And now with docketing, it's like, well, are they going to move us forward? Aren't they going to move us forward? And so, well, I guess we'll just see if they're going to move us forward, and we'll go do all that stuff. And if they're not going to move us forward, well, we'll figure out, how many units can we, if we're going to say single family, how many units can we put on this property, and do we want to do a subdivision? And, at $450,000 to $550,000 for a single family home, I'm not so sure that's affordable housing, but those are the decisions that have to be made
Mr.
depending
Whipple?
on what happens with docketing.
Thanks, Mr. Whipple. Staff, either Mr. Freebot or Mr. Mueller, do you have a response to Councilmember Stratton's question?
Well, it's a big question and not a simple one. Our current impact fee system is based, and our entire planning is based on our current plan. So when somebody proposes something different, that can change, the base assumptions. This process, and we don't have a great process, I'll admit that. As interim director, we don't have a great process for somebody to come in and propose, this is 100 acres, or not this one, but I mean, we have a proposal tonight of a new Kendall Yards. So our process really isn't designed for a new Southgate, which has been controversial in the past. That launches a whole nother process, and we should have more definition around that going forward. This is a specific 10-acre-ish, around an existing center that was put in and was a controversial process to begin with. I would like to see that we have more definition in our code and our comp plan around these kind of centers. I'm not giving you direct answers, I'm sorry, but I would like to see more about that we can make better going forward. So.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Mr. Mueller. Other council questions or comments? All right.
Councilmember Wilkerson, thank you for calling on me.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Wilkerson. Go ahead.
Thank you, Louis, for that. And again, it is not that I'm against development or apartments or infill or density, because I want all those things also. But as each neighborhood gets to grow, the neighborhood should have some say in how it grows, because this will be long-term going forward. And we know, because we met with the neighborhood council, and it is true, promises were made back then, and so there is a high level of skepticism among some of our citizens that things will follow through. So as I spoke again with Todd, I believe the neighborhood could be brought along, but it's very confusing, and that's some of the hesitancy going forward up there also. The neighborhood just don't know what's going on, and it didn't make it last year. Here it is again. How did that happen? And so it's like it went down the rabbit hole. And I'm sorry for that, Todd, because I think there's some great opportunities up there that you're in the rabbit hole with us. But I'm with Louis. We need some clarity, which I think is the biggest barrier for our city not growing the way it should be.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Stratton.
One more thing, and then I promise I will be quiet. I feel a great amount of frustration that the system is set up and the individuals, the organizations that want to develop and go into some of these areas to provide housing and business construction, whatever, that they're paying a price for our system not making sense sometimes. So that's my first frustration, because I've asked myself the question, at what point do they get to go in and work with the neighborhood to see what the neighborhood wants to see? And if we don't allow it or say, okay, add it to the docket, do they wait another year to come back to get on the docket? So the process to me needs some improvement. The other thing I will say is that it is time that the community and developers and individuals looking for housing need to understand we have been understaffed in the planning department for at least 4 years. We have tried to work with administrations to get some planners, to get some relief to our already great staff, and they're working so hard. Again, I don't think the people before us tonight, they're kind of holding that, the fact that we don't have enough planners to do the work. I don't think those people are responsible for that. We need to build this department. We need to get people that can do this work. And I just want to say that publicly, because we've talked about it, and we talked about it, and we talked about it, and nothing happens. We have the most talented planners that I've ever worked with in my life at the City of Spokane, and we're killing them because they're working as hard as they are. So I just want to make that public pitch that at some point we need to make that decision, or the administration needs to make the decision, follow our lead, do something there in planning, because we can't continue to talk about more affordable housing, more economic development. Oops, but we don't have enough planners to do the work. So I'm done now. I'll be good and I'll be quiet.
Thank you, Councilmember Stratton. I think you're speaking for all of us, regardless of our thoughts on this particular application. We put plenty of planners in the budget, and we still don't have them, and we don't have a planning director, which means Mr. Mueller, who would be a planner, is being planning director. So we definitely need that. I have spoken to the mayor recently, and it seems like maybe that's changing, but we could use a lot more change a lot faster. I just wanted to comment on one piece in thinking about this. It's really a good conversation, actually, I think, for people. And while it might feel a little bit frustrating, I do just want to remind people that this property is zoned for housing right now. Housing could be built on it right now. When it was purchased, it was a zoning for housing, and that was the price for that zoning reflected it. And so this would change the value by changing the land use of it. But one of the things when we did docketing that we put in there was we told applicants that they would get more credit for going to the neighborhoods before docketing, and that the ideal would be they would come to the docketing committee with an agreement from the neighborhoods what the change was going to be to avoid exactly this kind of conflict. So I think we did put that into the DNA of docketing. I don't know that if we've emphasized it. I don't know if we've promoted that's what we're really looking for. But I think that is the solution to not spending a lot of money before there is momentum, is to go to the neighborhood councils in the neighborhoods, get an agreement on how to move forward to deal with whatever their challenges are perceived. And then I think that will sail through the docketing process. So super challenging situation tonight, but I think that's what needs to happen next time these properties come forward on that application. Any other?
Yeah, Council President.
Yep.
Hi. I just wanted to agree with what you both were saying, and this is how my brain works, is policy. And right now there's no policy set up to help us make this decision. And that's frustrating, but I don't think we should keep going on with this process and keep saying no to people when we don't really have a policy or something set out for the to be able to achieve what they want. And so I'm going to be supporting all of these to add them all to the docket tonight, because I think that if we don't like this process, we need to go fix it. We need to write the policy around it. We need to make it very clear what we're doing moving forward. But we can't just keep picking and choosing and making it not fair for the applicants who come in. Not all of these people talk to their neighborhood councils. It's just that some neighborhood councils don't have a problem with it and some do. And so, but it's just, you're always going to have that kind of issue. But if we require you to go to neighborhood councils, then we have, okay, they did it, and now we have these things. But we can't just say, here's some cool things you could do, and then not let them, and then say that they're wrong for not doing them. And so I just think what this does is this sets the bar even for every single person who wrote a proposal change tonight. What we can do in the future, I think, is really work on how we're going to set that bar a little higher, because we obviously need to. But I just feel like we've set the bar here, and this comp plan is here, but we're saying that he's not meeting the requirements, but we don't have the requirements set out, and so it's totally. To me, the way forward is to fix this policy. And it sounds like all of us are in agreement of that. So I'd love to, see that in the future. But I just want to, caution us to just pick and choose, because we don't have a policy saying whether or not this is acceptable or not. And I think that's not a good policy. So.
Thanks, Councilmember Burke. Any other comments at this point? We have a few more applications to hear from. Councilmember Wilkerson.
I just have to concur with Councilmember Burke that we do not have a policy, but this group did go through a process, and so I have to respect the people in this process who did do the docketing at this point in time and who did make recommendations or who did decide to defer at this point, because then we're like, not only do we not have a policy, we're just totally changing the game and making it up as we go. So I just want to keep that under consideration.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other comments before we move to the next application? All right. Mr. Freebot, thinking application 206 is next, but I'm not sure.
Yes, application 206. This is in the Logan neighborhood, and the agent for this is Miss Lindsay Cornegie with Witherspoon Kelly. And I believe Lindsay's here. Lindsay, if you want to unmute.
Yep, I'm here.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Freibot. Thank you to the council for your consideration of all of the applications. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your careful consideration of all of the issues that are being raised. I don't have a ton to add outside of Mr. Freibot's summary of our application, other than to reiterate why we believe this application is appropriate to be included in the work program. And that is primarily because we don't believe it raises really any significantly policy or land issues that need to be addressed elsewhere. And we believe it can appropriately be addressed in the timeframe set out in the work program. As you've already seen, not to get too much into the substance of the application, but the property itself abuts both commercial and multifamily property. And in addition, it's at the bottom of a bluff, which sets it off a bit from the rest of the single family designation. And because of that, it already is serving as a bit of a buffer from the single family area. And for this reason, it's a logical change in the use of the land in consideration of both the land use and the topography. And that all, again, goes back to our opinion that this doesn't raise any significant policy or land use issues, and that it's appropriate to address it within the work program. And I'm happy to answer any questions or try to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Lindsay? All right. I'm not seeing any.
Great.
I'm thinking that brings us to 209.
That's correct.
Can I ask a
209.
question?
Oh, yes.
On this last one, I was going to ask the speaker, did they go to a neighborhood council meeting and talk about this proposal?
We have not attended a neighborhood council meeting, but we did reach out. We wrote letters to both the Logan Neighborhood Council and the Nevada Heights Neighborhood Council. We heard back from the Nevada Heights, and they basically said, you're not in our neighborhood, so we don't have an opinion at this point. And we did not hear back from Logan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the last one will be 209, and the agent for that is Ms. Candace Larson with Integris Architecture. And I see Candace is in the attendee list. So if, Jacoby, if you could, I don't know if you can unmute her while she's there or she has to be elevated.
Okay. Candace, if you're on the phone, if you'd like to speak.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Great. So I am Candace Larson. I'm speaking on behalf of Spokane Public Schools in District 81 this evening. The community school is a project-based school which has seen and continues to see really a lot of growth, and its needs are just no longer being met by the 61-year-old building in which it currently resides. So looking toward the future, Spokane Public Schools really hopes to include the community school property at 1025 West Spofford on the 2024 bond and eventually re-envision that facility to provide the school with the tools and environment the students really need to flourish. The site is significant to Spokane Public Schools and the community school for its proximity to downtown, its access to public transit, and the other nearby businesses and amenities. The proposed comprehensive plan amendment, we're really aiming to alleviate the restrictions and limits that are being set by the current residential land use, and just to reinforce that future extension of Monroe Street as a center and corridor to downtown. So Kevin did a great job introducing the project, and we just thank you all for your consideration on this proposal and appreciate your time.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments?
This is Karen. Quick question.
Yes, Councilmember Stratton.
Candace, did you go before the West Central Neighborhood Council on this proposal?
We reached out to the chair and vice chair of the West Central neighborhood and also the Emerson Garfield neighborhood to see if they wanted to hear about what we were proposing and the plan amendment. We did not hear back from either neighborhood. We are kind of right on the edge there, and that's why we chose to reach out to both neighborhoods. But we heard nothing back. So
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Council President, if I could add one real quick note.
Sure.
Just as a matter of course, as a matter of procedure, we do tell every applicant, we require as part of their application that they at least attempt to contact the neighborhood they're in. And so all of the applicants have contacted the neighborhood that their project is located in. And if they're within 400 feet of another neighborhood, then we ask them to connect to that neighborhood as well. So each one of these applications, when they were submitted along with proof that they had contacted the neighborhood. We can't make the neighborhoods respond, but we certainly did make sure that everybody contacted their neighborhood.
Thank you. I don't know if there's anyone who wants to speak about the bike network map proposal. We've already kind of heard about that, so unless any council members need
that is a city-sponsored application, so Mr. Quinhurst doesn't have anything to add. We're good to go on that one.
Okay. Any questions from council on the bike network? Okay. All right. So this is a little different procedurally than normal because I think you included every application. So can you kind of explain to us once again where we're at procedurally?
Yeah. So the resolution, the draft resolution that you have before you is essentially a menu. You can choose. You can move and vote on each application that you want to include in the docket. The only one that's handled slightly differently is 195. The resolution is written such that 195 becomes a sub-area plan process, and it separates it from the normal annual comp plan amendment process the statutory process that we're going through. So if you'd like, I don't know if you want to do an individual vote for each, or if you want to vote for them in a group, but simply saying which ones are included, which should be sufficient under the way the resolution is drafted. Does that answer your questions, Council President?
So if I understand, 195 is part of the resolution, but not part of the docketing. It's a sub-area planning recommendation as part of the resolution?
Yes. Actually, I can bring up, let me see if I can bring up the resolution for you. That might help make this a little easier.
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Mumm.
Just a quick question. Were there any members of the public who wanted to speak to this?
There is one person, I believe, who wants to comment. And you want to hit *3. And
thank you.
If you're there, if you want to introduce yourself. We're not seeing anyone. You're listening, *3. Okay. Who's this?
This is Darren Watkins.
Hi, Darren. It's Brian. You have up to 3 minutes if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
I want to thank you. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to weigh in here. There was just some new information I wanted to bring to the table here, and as you're making your considerations for tonight's plan, I think it's really clear, especially from one of the comments I'm hearing from council members, that this land policy feels like it's more of an obstacle towards the homeownership, and we really need to help ways to streamline this. You see, as we're trying to prioritize opportunities for home ownership, I wanted to make you aware of a new number that's just been released, that as we sit, Spokane has now fallen below 55% for home ownership in this city compared to the rest of the country where home ownership rates continue to rise. We're over 65% for home ownership. And why is that important? Well, the bulk of the new building permits in our community are now tied to apartments. They're not towards home ownership. So as you consider these changes, and I know that sometimes it gets lost in the weeds in individual applications, but what we're asking for is that let's think about placing a priority on housing ownership, especially with these housing options that are constantly coming up as great tools. Townhomes, cottage homes, duplexes, condos. These are all tools we talk about and we desperately need to expand housing opportunities. But as we really work towards infill, I would ask that the council put this as an overlay and say, this should be our priority, and let's move these projects together as much as we can. I thank you for your opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. All right, I think you were going to put up the resolution.
Yeah. So just as an addition to what I said before, so these are the applications that are in the resolution to move forward. So if you want to take one out or change it. I also want to point out that for 208, because we did talk about those possible additional parcels, this is the one on Monroe in the corridor there. It includes an item where you can add those or not. That's up to council at this point. And then there's a second recital here at the end that's for 195, and it says it would separate it from the process, consider it separately. Process and timeline would be developed by city staff and brought back to council, which of course would be in consultation with Mr. Bonnet and everyone else.
But
So, Council President, do you need a motion? Is that what you need to move?
I do need a motion. I was just going to say one thing before I get to that, Councilmember. So I just wanted to note that even on this, then the application 195 in Latah, that is action being taken. It's just a different action than the docketing process. So it wasn't, before I was under the impression that it was just left off in space and somebody would have to do it. This would actually be council resolving to move that forward in a different way. Is that my...
Council President,
Yes.
I would like to take each one separately.
Okay, well, let me get confirmation. I'll get to you, Councilmember Mumm, just one second. Mr.
I was going to make a motion.
Okay, but Mr. Freebot, well, never mind. Okay, Councilmember Mumm.
I would like to move that the following application be included in the 2021 Annual Comprehensive Plan Amendment Work Plan, Z20-194 comp.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Any discussion about application 194? All right, so, and maybe, I don't know if Mr. McClatchy, so I don't know if we're amending the resolution to include things and then we'll have a final vote, or are we doing separate resolutions? That's what I'm, Councilmember Policy Director McClatchy, I don't know if you're on the line there.
Kevin, can you scroll up to the top of this resolution?
To the header?
Yep. For me, please.
Oops.
So I think what the motions are is to include the various applications into this resolution.
Okay.
So if I'm hearing correctly, the motion would be to include 194 in this resolution as an approval statement.
Okay.
And then I think Kevin would go through and edit the resolution to track the various motions that you've made along the way.
Okay.
That seems like that's cleanest to me.
Okay. All right. Any
Is
council?
that making sense?
That's making sense to me, but let me ask council members any questions about that process, that there would be individual voice motions to add applications to the resolution for the work plan, and then a vote on the work plan as amended once we're done with that as a roll call.
So we're just then voting on each application, right? Yes or no?
Yet to put into the resolution, and then we'd vote on the resolution.
Gotcha. Okay.
So then after you've done all your motions, Kevin would go in and edit this document to reflect your motions. Okay.
Okay. All right. So with that understood, I had a motion from Councilmember Mumm to add application 194. I believe there was a second from Councilmember Burke for that. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? Okay, 194 is in. All right.
Council President, I'd like to make a motion to include 196 in our comp plan.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Councilmember Burke made a motion. Councilmember Stratton seconded it. Any discussion about 196? Councilmember Mumm.
I'm not going to support it because I think we need to do a neighborhood sub-area plan, not just one lot. There have been two other folks who are interested, at least one other, last year that we rejected for sound reasons. I think those sound reasons still exist, and if we decide this is a target area, then let's do a sub-area plan reboot, and let's roll and do it right, and involve the neighborhood, and that's where I'm going to stand.
Other council commentary?
I have to support Council Mumm in her statements. I want that area to grow, but I want to do it where it's engaging the neighborhood and smart growth, and not just right now, but what the future looks like. also, again, conversation with our other partners, i.e. the school district, of how that will impact that neighborhood will be significant.
Any other council commentary? Okay. So the motion is to add 196 to the work plan, which is near Freya and Palouse, from single family to multifamily. All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay. All those opposed, nay.
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 I'm going to be a nay, barely. So that fails. Is there another motion?
Council President,
Yep. Councilmember Mum.
I would like to move that Z20-206 comp be added to the plan.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? I'm sorry. Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. That's yes. Okay.
Council President, I'll make a motion to accept 207 into our comp plan.
Okay.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right. 207 is in.
Council President,
Councilmember Mum.
I would move to add 208 comp, including the parcels enumerated in the resolution.
Okay.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. That's added to the plan. Is there a motion to add 209 to the plan?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, that's added. And then 022, the bike network map. Is there a motion to add that?
So moved.
Okay. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, that's added. And is there a motion to add 195 application to the sub-area planning process?
So moved.
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion?
I just want to be clear, we're supporting the resolution language that says it should be separated from the annual process and considered separately.
Yes. The language that's in the motion, in the resolution.
So I'm not sure do we need to vote separately on that, or should we just vote on the whole resolution?
Let's see, hang on.
My intent of my motion was to vote on this resolution as it's
Oh,
stated.
as a whole, I see.
Yes.
Okay.
Hang on. Kevin, could you put the resolution back up?
Sorry, so the intent, Councilmember Burke, your intent was to move to adopt the resolution as currently written with Kevin's strikeout reflecting the motion that failed.
Well, I think we have to vote on the last one.
So
the
your,
comp plan change. Does
your
that make
motion
sense?
your motion was to accept the language as written currently on the resolution concerning that item.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. And
Just
there
to
was
be
a
clear.
second. All those, or any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed, nay. Any abstentions? So that's in. So one thing I want to make clear, and Kevin, I don't know if you can put that back up, but on one of them, let's see, 208, you had several other parcels on there. I don't know if that was really captured in the.
I included it in my motion.
Did you? Okay. All right, great. All right. Wanted to clarify that. All right. Okay. So now, if I understand, we have amended the resolution to reflect all those votes. And is there any discussion about the overall resolution before we take a roll call vote on that? All right. Not.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. All right, not hearing any further discussion, we'll have a roll call. Councilmember Mumm.
Aye.
Councilmember Stratton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Aye.
Council President's an aye. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilkerson.
Aye.
Okay, that passes 7-0. You need anything else from us, Mr. Freebot, on that for tonight?
No, I think I've sucked up enough of your evening, but thank you so much, everybody, for the good discussion and the deep thoughts. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, that brings us to another resolution, I believe.
-29, approving the Plan Commission's 2021 work program, deferred from April 12, 2021 agenda.
Okay, well, we had a bit of a discussion about that around the office today. There's currently includes an exhibit of the work plan, and there've been some discussion about discussing how it might be amended. It's currently written as is. I have expressed an opinion that I think we should have a joint Planning Commission and City Council and Planning Commission or Planning Department staff meeting in the near future to talk about some of the issues that have been raised. And I think from what I've heard, people are in agreement that we can get that done, and we're trying to do that on a quarterly basis, I think, this year. So it's time to do that meeting. And after that meeting, if there are further changes to the work plan, they could be proposed as amendments to the work plan. Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, thanks, Council President. I guess I would say if the plan is to adopt as written without any, which I think are very necessary amendments, I would move to defer consideration until we can have that study session. I think that would be the best way forward to make sure that we're thinking about all these big picture items.
Councilmember, well, first of all, that's a motion, right? I think. So
it is, yes.
It'd be until after the joint meeting, I'm assuming. Okay.
Correct,
All right.
yes.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and second. Okay. It's now open for discussion. Councilmember Kinnear.
I would ask Louis if we deferred for 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks, what's the impact going to be on the Planning Department and the Plan Commission?
Thank you. We really have no new capacity until we have the downtown plan finished, which we hope to have in front of you in the next month. And then also the very important housing action plan, we hope to have to you in June. that is when we have additional capacity to take on new work. So it's really up to this body, I think, to give us guidance on what your next highest priorities are. And that's about when I hope to have our existing budget transferred into a consultant category that we will have before special budget ordinance to put onto new projects, probably in the next month for that. Thank you.
So just to clarifying, so what you're saying is whether we pass the work plan tonight as is or amended or wait a month, it doesn't matter because you guys are full up until June regardless.
I'm hoping a little before that, but that's probably the decision, yes.
Okay. Other, Councilmember Wilkerson.
So Louis, thank you for that. I think we need to hear it directly from you. However, we recognize that we do need to look at how we're doing business, and the one on this additional planning is like our permitting process. So can we look at these after the study session and they be on the list? I think it's important that we show our citizens and developers that we are moving in the right direction to really meet the need of our housing prices. I think we need to show leadership in that area.
Thank you. I'll add that we do have a small package of amendments to our fee structure and our processes that are coming forward right now. I think some of these are already existing practices. We do have a little bit of flexibility in the code that council has given us to make changes, and we've already made changes over the past couple of years, and we want to bring those forward along with some additional changes that I think will benefit our smaller infill projects greatly. So we already have those underway.
Councilmember Mumm.
I just thought I'd give a little bit of a historical perspective. These work plans over literally dozens of years have always been adopted in January or February by the City Council. It's a living document, and we have met quarterly with the Plan Commission over those decades to modify it or change or add, and work in concert with the mayor's office to make sure that it was funded and we had adequate planning staff. The last 2 years at least, we have dragged this on until at least the middle of the year, and I'm happy to vote on this tonight and then have our meetings with the Plan Commission and then modify it later. But I do have a concern that we continue to drag this out, have multiple conversations with each other, with staff, with the mayor, and with the Plan Commission, and we keep changing it and wanting to add to it. And it is part of our budget cycle, which is why we do it in January and February following the budget. There's a reason for that. So I'd actually rather vote on it tonight and put it in. And it's on our agenda, so I'm not going to support the deferral.
It is a resolution, and there's nothing in the code that prevents us from amending it in the future. I think adopting it sooner rather than later gives us more immediate guidance, and then in the second half of the year, we could amend it if there is a reprioritization. So I appreciate any kind of immediate guidance we can get from the council.
Other council commentary? Councilmember Wilkerson.
Okay, so Councilmember Mumm, clarity, are you saying add the 4 recommended amendments to this session? No.
Oh, I don't want to amend anything. We've had it on the agenda. We've met with the Plan Commission. They have approved this work plan. The staff, in concert with the mayor's office, has approved this work plan. They brought it forward. We as a council have met multiple times on this work plan, and we have agreement that in general that these are the things that are our priority. I would like to pass that tonight. I don't want to defer it and have more back and forth for a month or 2 or 3, because just for the reasons that Director Mueller said, they need to get going on these things. I think this slows progress. I think we need to get going on what we can agree on. And it's hard for the Plan Commission. They have to meet, they have to make this an agenda item, they have to discuss it again. Then they take their time as volunteers to meet with us. And so I would just, out of courtesy to them, honestly, let's pass this. We should have passed it 3 months ago. So that's what I'd like to do and get going.
One more item. We did send an email memo to the council. We have made a commitment on a couple items to follow up with our PDAs and on other subjects in the memo. And we plan on following up with that very soon. And that may help inform future updates to the resolution. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Cathcart.
Yeah, thank you. I guess for me, I just don't necessarily believe that we're going to bring this back after having more conversations, and I want to make sure that we're able to consider these items. I just don't think what's in the work plan is sufficient to address our housing needs at this point in time. I think we need to consider some amendments, and the amendments that I offered were to look at things like our allowable densities and zoning types to make sure that we have single family at different densities in different parts of our community, that we're allowing different housing types in our single family neighborhoods, to look at things like floor area ratio and site coverage and dimensional standards and land use efficiency, to make sure that we're using our land to the best we can be. And some of this is going to take time to look at, and the housing situation isn't going to get any better. It is an emergency, and it's something that we have to address, I think, in the very near term. And so we've got to start somewhere, and I think that there's no better time than right now. And if it takes a couple more weeks of discussion to get it right, or at least to thoughtfully consider other alternatives, I'll support that. But I agree, we shouldn't wait. We should amend it tonight and pass it tonight and have our planning department move forward swiftly.
Do you want to withdraw your deferral then?
I would withdraw it if we can consider amendments. Absolutely.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes. You're next, Councilmember Stratton, and then Councilmember Kinnear.
So I'm sitting on about 100 different housing committees. Not that many, but there's enough activity going on with council and all of these housing groups and advanced dwelling units and all of that. So at what point, as we discuss those, which we're kind of looking out of the box because of the need for more housing, where do those align with these changes or not that are in the plan? I mean, it feels like we're working in one area. We've got money coming up for more affordable housing. We've had groups looking at ADUs. We've talked about condos. We talked about different types. So as council goes down one direction, having those policy committees working, where do these amendments that Councilmember Cathcart is talking about, where do they come together? Or do they?
Who are you addressing your question to?
Policy Advisor McClatchy had his hand raised. I think he can answer.
Okay, I'll go Mr. McClatchy and then Mr. Mueller after that.
Thank you, Council President. I think Mr. Mueller can also provide his own perspective. But to me, all of these groups that you're talking about we're on a stair-step process. So, for example, the Housing Action Plan, which you should be seeing a draft of in the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. That's the first step. There will be a report with some recommendations, and the next step on the staircase, is to get that into the Plan Commission's process for them to do their deep dive and their staff work to go figure out how to implement those things and which of them to implement. And then, of course, the next step on your staircase is to come to you to determine whether you want to adopt them. So I think it's useful to think about it that way rather than thinking about these different groups as sort of working at cross purposes. They're all sort of building. It's a process that's building. And a lot of those working groups, landlord tenant is another one. It's a ton of work on the front end to hear from the community and to hear from the stakeholders to sort of form that first step on the stairway. Louis, does that make any sense at all?
It does, but I guess what I'm thinking is that some of them will require amendments to the comp plan. So when, maybe not, Louis?
Some of
I
them
think
will.
there's a lot of wiggle room
Yeah, good.
within the comp plan to achieve a lot of what I think the community is trying to achieve. I think we have another whole round of discussion about infill housing and density across all of our categories. I think of the stair step is kind of like looking at Brian's hairline versus my hairline. Where do you want to be on the whole receding hairline spectrum? So I really do think we have a lot of flexibility amongst council. I appreciate my elders. Oh my goodness, I shouldn't have said that. So anyway, I really think if we need to be back here right after, we're going to have a big discussion around the housing action plan that I think will take a month or so on council and will help guide our future direction as a city. And then right after that, if we have to have other implementation programs or discussions among multiple departments, we will be right there with you.
And then if we need to make adjustments or amendments, those could be some of the amendments that Councilmember Cathcart has.
Totally.
If we're going to, I want to do it all at once and not just piecemeal it.
Councilmember,
if we can.
I really, like I said in my memo, I don't mind the amendments of Councilperson Cathcart. I think that opens up the spectrum of what is coming forward in the housing action plan.
Okay.
Councilmember Kinnear.
Okay, I almost forgot what I was going to say because Louis, you totally distracted me. I think it would be prudent if we were all on the same page and understood exactly what Councilmember Cathcart's amendments would do. I would like to see the pros and the cons. I'd like to have really deep dive, thorough discussion. We can pass this work plan now, and then we can revisit in a study session and just go at it. Ask all the questions, everything's on the table, and then amend later. And maybe we don't want all of his amendments. Maybe we'd like just 2 or 1 or 3. But we're rushing this. We don't understand the implications of all of it, because not all of us understand what he's actually proposing. We don't have that background necessarily to make an informed decision right now. So glad I remembered that. Louis, don't distract us again with humor.
I think the coming to discussion around the housing action plan and then the joint plan commission city council meeting, all of that will help provide guidance on our next steps.
All right. Again, there's a motion before us to defer this resolution until after the next City Council Planning Commission joint meeting. That's the motion before us. There's been a lot of discussion of different options in that, but that is the current motion in front of us. Any discussion about that motion? All right. All those in favor of that motion to defer, say aye.
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 I'm going to add an aye to that as well. 4. So all those opposed? Nay.
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 Okay. So I think that's 4-3 to defer the work plan until after the joint City Council Planning Commission meeting. Okay. So that's deferred until then. I think that's the end of our legislative agenda. We have some open forum people. And Yeah, I saw that. I don't know that I'm going to get into that, so I'm going to go. Nicolette Ochiltree, you are signed up first. So if you're there, if you want to hit *3. All right, Nicolette, welcome. Thanks for sitting through so much. You have up to 3 minutes for open forum.
Sir, would you mind if I actually go last? I actually have to catch my chickens right now. Can you just move me to the end of the line?
I can move.
Sorry, I just need like 2 minutes.
Okay.
To put my chickens to bed. Sorry.
I'll move you down a few.
Thank you.
Yep. Pia Hellenberg, if you're there, if you can hit *3. All right. Pia, go ahead and introduce yourself. You have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. You didn't succeed in getting rid of me tonight. My name is Pia Hellenberg. I am the chair of the Riverside Neighborhood Council and a downtown resident. I'm here to talk to you quickly about an issue that's been brought to our neighborhood council meeting several times, and I have by some considered somewhat radical proposal to make to you, but I'll just go ahead and do it. I come to you mostly as a compassionate but very exhausted downtown property owner. I speak on my own experience, but also on behalf of the Riverside Neighborhood Council, which fully supports this message. It is time for the City of Spokane to provide safe, clean, accessible public restrooms with water bottle filling stations in several locations downtown. This is not a homeless issue. This is a public health issue. It is dehumanizing that some people have no choice but to poop in the street, and it's scary that ordinary people like me get to clean it up, especially during a pandemic. For the last many months, I have removed more and more piles of human waste from the alley where I live. My alley is a public street. How do I know that these are not piles of dog poop? Well, basically because dogs don't try to wipe themselves with napkins and socks and underwear. I thought for a while the clean team would perhaps take care of it if I just let it pile up. Nothing happened. I called the clean team. I live within the Business Improvement District. I'm on the bid board, like that made any difference. Anyway, I was told that the clean team is only responsible for cleaning the ends of the alley, not the actual alley. So the only option I was left with was to put my rubber gloves back on, and I did. And I went back down there and I cleaned up again. I really don't think it's safe for me to handle human waste on a regular basis during a national or global pandemic. I don't care if the city put in banks or porta potties, sanitation trailers, loos, or actually build a proper building. The only thing I care about is that we do something better than what we're doing now, and that we make sure that people have a clean and safe place to go. We spend millions on tourist facilities, stadiums, podiums, hotels, whatever, and compared to all that expense, having a public restroom is really just a tiny expenditure. I've heard lots of explanations for why this cannot be done or why it's someone else's problem. SGA should do it. Well, no, they shouldn't. They should run the buses. The library should do it. No, they shouldn't. They should just stick with the book business that they do so well. And the local stores and restaurants that are here downtown trying to make a living after a horrendous year should not be saddled with the task of providing these public bathrooms. It is the business of the city to provide safe, clean, functioning restroom facilities for everyone. I really hope that you will take this to heart. I'm happy to talk to anybody who's interested in talking to me about this, and I'm not going to let it go. Everybody poops, and I just want to make sure that we have a safe and clean place for everyone to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, Kim Schmidt, if you're there, if you can hit *3. All right. Kim, if you want to introduce yourself, you have up to 3 minutes.
Hello, good evening, President Beggs and council members. I'm Kim Schmidt. Earlier this morning, you received an email from me which included clips of Spokane Police body cam footage from January 19, 2021. The Spokane Police body cam footage that I speak of showed officer interactions that took place outside of a healthcare facility in Spokane. A healthcare provider and a residential neighbor both made noise complaints about a group called the Church at Planned Parenthood, also known as TCAP. The healthcare provider was unable to complete his work. He was interrupted on a conference call because of the high level of noise the TCAP band was making during their sound checks and warm-up. Band practice began at 6:15 that night. The neighbor complained that the noise from the TCAP protest was so loud that it was rattling the walls of his home. He complained that he couldn't hear his TV even when he turned up the volume to 50. He also stated his young children were unable to wind down and get ready for bed. He was upset because his kids have to go to school in the morning. Now, mind you, the TCAP protest starts at 7 p.m. and lasts until about 8 p.m., usually later. When the neighbor asked the officers if something could be done to get TCAP to lower their volume, he was given the runaround. Officers told the neighbor that he could contact code enforcement. He was also told that he can contact Nadine, meaning Spokane Mayor Nadine Woodward. Finally, officers told the neighbor that he could contact you guys, the Spokane City Council members. What the officers failed to mention was that they could actually contact their bosses to help correct the situation. In fact, Spokane police have on numerous occasions told TCAP to lower their volume. Eventually, a detective spoke with the neighbor, seemingly in an attempt to clean up the mess that the other officers had made. The TCAP leader was given a noise warning that evening, but just like every other noise warning they've been giving, nothing has been done. So just over a year ago, the council passed a noise ordinance that restricts noise outside of healthcare facilities. I have followed up with the Spokane Police Department on numerous occasions about their ability to enforce the ordinance. I have been told that they were unable to send officers to the training school to learn how to operate the special decibel meters that they are required to use to properly enforce the ordinance. The training schools in New Jersey and the officers were unable to fly due to the pandemic. Roughly 6 months ago, code enforcement began taking sound level readings at each protest. I hope that the council is being updated about the findings of code enforcement. Ultimately, the problem of excess noise has a negative impact, causing undue stress and burden on our community. Our police department needs to fairly and effectively enforce laws across our city without bias. This specific problem is within Spokane Police's jurisdiction to enforce. I'm requesting that council members, if you haven't already yet seen it, review the video and follow up with Mayor Woodward, Chief Meidel, and with code enforcement about this issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is Layla Lewis. If you're there, Layla. All right, Layla, if you'd like to introduce yourself, you have up to 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here today. I am from the Humanizing Spokane organization who held the Humans for Housing March on Saturday, April 24th. And I just want to reiterate our demands to the city and once more go over those, and also thank Councilwoman Kate Burke for being at our march on Saturday. Those 3 demands to the city are that, first and foremost, that we we protect tenant rights by ensuring that just cause evictions are written into the municipal code and supported by legal aid to tenants allocated via the recently passed Washington State SB 5160. Our second demand is that the city eliminate single-family housing, a historically racist and classist law that prevents the construction of affordable housing in all neighborhoods of Spokane. We demand the city demonstrate the commitment to the construction of affordable housing by adopting a resolution similar to the one signed in Berkeley that eliminated single-family zoning. The third demand is that we use American Rescue Plan Act funds to build public restrooms to allow all community members access to washrooms, toilets, trash disposal, and clean water. Thank you all so much for being here today and listening to the reiteration of these requests to the city, and I'm excited for what this looks like in decreasing homelessness over time. Thank you all so much. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, Nicolette Ochiltree, if you're there, you can hit *3. All right, Nicolette, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the delay. Chickens are a lot like toddlers, and it's nighttime, so she got scared. So I just wanted to say that I'm glad that I hear that the city is going to be hiring a civil rights officer. I was under the impression that that we were going to be creating an office of civil rights rather than merely hiring a civil rights officer. Regardless, I see this as a huge step in the right direction, and I look forward to tracking the progress and seeing how that develops for our community. Last I had heard before this, the administration had said it could take 9 months to create the office and hire necessary positions. So I'm delighted to see how quickly things are moving along. However, I do still wonder why the previous projected timeline was 9 months and now it's not. I'm curious as to what changed. I wanted to say that I am very deeply concerned about a few problems with the police that I've heard from community members and activists this week. And I know that one of those individuals may be speaking later, and I hope that they do. And I hope that council takes that to heart and goes ahead and really puts pressure on the administration to address these issues and to have a communication with the police department about these issues. Like many things, I think that this makes it clear that a conversation about police reform and accountability in our city is much needed. And considering the contract for the police guild is coming up for negotiations, I'd say it behooves the council to consider having a few open public forums, perhaps over the summer, to facilitate an open dialogue between city leaders, the police department, and the citizens. I think it's critical for these discussions to occur before the negotiation of the police guild contract begins. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nicolette. And just a little point of information, the reason we were able to get the mayor to move up the hiring is that we're hiring a project employee as opposed to the full civil service position. Civil service is working on the full position, but that's what was predicted to take longer. And I really appreciate all the advocacy of community members and council and the mayor and her team listening to that and going ahead and getting approval from the Civil Service Commission for a project employee who will be a full-time employee, but it won't be a civil service position until that position is created. And then there's a hiring list, which that person can obviously apply for, but would have to go through that process. So that was that. Then we have Anwar Peace. Mr. Peace, if you're there, want to hit *3. All right. Anwar, go ahead and introduce yourself. You have up to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Council. My name is Anwar Peace, and for the past 21 years, I've been a police accountability activist. On Friday morning, I was arrested by Spokane police for jaywalking and spent the night in jail. For me, what's more troubling than the actual arrest was the fact that Police Chief Craig Meidel emailed 3 city council members at 3 in the morning to inform them that activist was arrested. Now, I am a human rights commissioner, but would the police chief be emailing the city council at 3 in the morning if a civil service commissioner or a salary review commissioner or even a city council staff member got arrested for jaywalking? The chief even called Bart Lowe, the police ombudsman, who's a good friend of mine, to tell him about my arrest. Why? Well, there is now talk that I might actually lose my position as a commissioner because of this jaywalking arrest. The fact is, during the search process, officers pulled out of my wallet a large stack of my human rights business cards, and hours later, the chief was emailing city council. Now, this was the 3rd time that SPD has interfered with my livelihood. At this point now, I feel SPD has been targeting me with harassment, intimidation, and retaliation because not only am I a human rights commissioner, but like I said, for 21 years, I've been a police accountability activist. It is time for the city council to reform the Spokane Police Department. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And that is the last speaker that we have signed up for tonight. Councilmember Burke, were you
a point of personal privilege?
Yes.
If I may. Yeah, I wanted to comment on the march this weekend that was beautifully hosted by Humanizing Spokane. They had an amazing series of speakers with folks with lived experience, activists, and different point of views of what we need to do in our community. And I am in full support of their 3 demands that they are bringing forward to us. And they did say that they wanted us to do this by, I think it was May 31st. So just wanted to note that. But I'm in support of them, and I just wanted to thank Humanizing Spokane for creating a documentary and for hosting this event to really bring light to show what's going on in our community. It was one of the more beautiful events I've been to because it was community, it was our entire community was there, right? It was people who are experiencing homelessness and then people who are housed. And it was a great mix and really just made my heart feel very happy that we're working together. So I just wanted to share that, and thank you, Humanizing Spokane, for putting it on.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Burke. We're to the end of our agenda. If there's nothing else, I'll be happy to adjourn us to our work. I do believe, have a study session this Thursday at 11, and then we'll be back to our regular meeting schedule next Monday with public safety on Monday at 1:15 and briefing at 3:30 and 6 o'clock. In the meantime, please, everybody, take care of yourself and take care of somebody else if you can. We're adjourned.